for now, let's move on to India, an economic and cultural powerhouse, and the reason that your most annoying friend won't shut up about Bikram yoga. We get it, Paisley. You can fuck upside down now. Now, this week, India hosted a number of foreign dignitaries. First, there was Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, whose visit got off to a rocky start.
Prime Minister Modi's glaring silence on the visit of Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau to India hasn't gone unnoticed.
No welcome tweet, no airport hug, and no joint visit to Gujarat. Is Canada's Prime Minister Justin Trudeau getting the Modi snub?
Ouch! It seems like Modi's treating Trudeau like a guy who finishes third on The Bachelorette, which, let's face it, is actually what Justin Trudeau looks like. Oh, he'd get to hometowns, sure, but after Fantasy Suite, it's donezo. Now, that snub may have its roots in Trudeau's perceived soft approach to Sikh extremist groups in Canada, and he frankly didn't help the situation by going in heavy on the national dress pandering, with Indian outfit after Indian outfit that seemed a bit much. I mean, it's not like when Modi visits Ottawa, he turns up in full Canadian formal dress, by which I, of course, mean a gravy-stained Toronto Raptors jersey and Roots sweatpants. And look, it's not just me who found it over the top. Listen to this Indian fashion designer.
Well, I just thought it was a little too Indian for Indians also. A little tacky when it came to his sartorial choices. I'm glad it's a Canadian design and it's definitely not an Indian designer who's just made this fashion blunder. He looked like a complete backup dancer for a cheap Bollywood movie.
Oh! A cheap Bollywood movie? That is a solid zing from Indian Tim Gunn. Trudeau's visit turned out to be the most unwatchable white person's trip through India since the Darjeeling Limited. But Trudeau was actually lucky because his trip was overshadowed by a visit from Donald Trump Jr., named Man of the Year by Daddy Issues magazine 40 years running. So what brought America's greatest living Donald Trump to India? Was it a profound sense of wanderlust, or did perhaps a trash pile of shitty condos need unloading? I won't keep you in suspense.
Don Jr. arriving today using the Trump brand to sell new luxury apartments. Newspaper ads in the country touting, Trump has arrived. Have you?
OK, so first, Trump has arrived is unquestionably what Don Jr. says when he orgasms. He saves the have you for special occasions. And also, that is a pretty misleading ad, because when you say Trump has arrived, people naturally assume you mean the President of the United States, not Don Jr. It's like if Ed Sullivan went, ladies and gentlemen, the Beatles, and then the studio was just overrun with Beatles. That's not what people signed up for. And look, if you think that's harsh, even those present were a tad disappointed, with one real estate developer telling the Washington Post, ideally, we'd have preferred Ivanka. Which, yes, is understandable, but you're coming off a little ungrateful there, India. Just be thankful you didn't get Eric, OK? It could have been worse. Now, Don Jr.'s trip started off a little bumpy as well. He sat down with CNBC India for a softball interview in which he somehow managed to give the only wrong answer to the question, can you say one thing you like about India?
I think there is something of the spirit of the Indian people that's unique here to other parts of the emerging world. You go through a town and and I don't mean to be glib about it, but you can see the poorest of the poor. And there's still a smile on a face. You say hello. It's a different spirit that you don't see in other parts of the world.
OK, so look, condescending tone aside, I will just point out that even if the poorest of the poor were smiling at Don Jr., there's no way that they weren't also thinking, we would have preferred Ivanka. But the actual substantial problem with this trip was the ethical questions that it posed, in part because those who bought into those condos got offered conversation and dinner with Don Jr., which is fine for a private citizen, but it becomes problematic if he's perceived as representing the government. And while he insisted that he was just a private businessman doing private business things, one speech was originally titled Reshaping Indo-Pacific Ties, the New Era of Cooperation, which sure as shit sounds like foreign policy, and they must have realised that it was a problem because the title was later changed to Fireside Chat with Donald Trump Jr., Executive Vice President, the Trump Organization. Presumably, in between, it was billed as Big Boy Business with I'm Donald Trump too. Still, I will say this in Donald Jr.'s defence. It may be difficult for him to sell access to his father's inner circle because, as he revealed during that